Alright, everybody, let's see what Sneako is up to. Let's go.
My daddy got a big airplane. Her mommy holds all.
It's just the way that it's put together. I would say it's like a documentary. Well, they've just, like, besides Myron, the whole team, like most of the team, besides Myron and Chris, are dedicating their entire platforms to try to ruin my life and put threats on me. Just literally try to ruin everything. Lie on my name consistently. Dedicated to podcasts for over a year, trying to ruin my life. And obviously nobody's seen it because, like, nobody. That's the thing. Nobody cares about anything they have to say if it's not Myron. So it's these people that, associate themselves with him, and yeah, they say like Myron says he's loyal to a fault. He's a good friend, but that means you're at fault. You can't. If you show loyalty to everybody, you're loyal to no one. Doesn't show any. It seems like that's what he wants to do. So it is what it is. I've voiced that publicly for a long time that I think Myron should do his own solo stuff. Been saying that for a year. That he's better off alone, but he's still doing that show. And yeah, these people are fraud. And again, I'll reiterate. I'm not going to talk about this beef again with not even beef, but one of the people on Fresh and Fit called me out to a fight. I said yes, and then he ran away like a little fucking pussy. Called me out to a fight. He called me out. I said yes. Didn't want to do it. He's not a man of his word. Little bitch. Just a fucking these people are not leaders of masculinity, accountability, red pill. They stand for absolutely nothing. They make Myron look bad. They make everyone involved look bad. It's embarrassing for everybody involved. I don't know what else you need. Israel. It proves the opposite. Does it? Does it Netanyahu wanted war criminal around the world? Clearly has nuclear weapons. What's really going on? Was this actually about the war on terror? Or was this about allowing Israel to expand and eventually take over the world? But this is speculation. Maybe you believe everything that happened. Netanyahu is in defense about Epstein right now. Just like, similar to Andrew Tate and Ben Shapiro and Piers Morgan and Matt Walsh. Netanyahu seems to agree. Netanyahu just tweeted, Jeffrey Epstein's unusual close relationship with Ehud Barak doesn't suggest Epstein worked for Israel. It proves the opposite. Does it? Does it Netanyahu wanted war criminal around the world? Let's take what you believe in. I saw you regulated. I like Burger King. I like Mickey Donald's. I eat the French fries all the time. I love the McPig. I get a meal happy every time I go. Why do they regulate social media? And then the next day he's giving a speech. We're going to ban everybody that criticizes me. But why do they regulate social media? Come on. Nelk guys. Nelk guys. I'm just like you, Nelk guys. I should join the Nelk guys. Stuck in his election loss from over 2 decades ago, Barack Obama. Ehud Barak has been obsessively attempted to undermine Israeli democracy by working with the anti-Zionist radical left in failed attempts to overthrow the elected Israeli government. Okay. So now Ehud Barak is an anti-Zionist radical left associate. Ehud Barak's personal fixation led him to engage in activities publicly and behind the scenes to undermine the government of Israel, including fueling mass protest movements, fomenting unrest, and feeding false media narratives. So according to Netanyahu, the reason that Epstein has met with Ehud Barak, allegedly, in my opinion, over 30 times and was caught at Manhattan Estate, and people are saying that Epstein was working for Israel to blackmail America to get Americans involved in war so that they can expand into greater Israel. That's just a coincidence. Ehud Barak was really there with Epstein, not because he was there with children and using him as a spy. Ehud Barak was doing it because he was an anti-Zionist radical leftist. Former Israeli Prime Minister was an anti-Zionist radical leftist. Regulated.
Honestly, whoever believes Israel's stupid excuses gotta be fucking dumb. You gotta be really a retard to believe any excuses this dumb from Israel or from Benjamin Bibi, little gay boy.
Jackson Hinkle got the ratio on him. Epstein is Mossad. There you go. Great stuff. It's an IDF shirt. It's funny. Toby Robinstein, Stephen Yaxley Lennon had the same
Holy shit. What's this? What is this, my friends?
shirt on, allegedly, in my opinion. And Epstein was seen in the files celebrating his release from prison and essentially calling Tommy Rubenstein a good boy slave. Good boy. Here is an email to Jeffrey Epstein. I found this photo from our visit with Bibi Netanyahu. Regards, Jacob. Okay, so if it's just a Ehud Barak, why'd you meet with him? Allegedly, in my opinion. Against all odds, we have granted. This is from Jeffrey Epstein. Against all odds, we have been granted a meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Damn, Bibi. Okay, why the fuck did you meet with him, you fucking little twat? Fucking weirdo.
Yahoo. I don't know what else you need. But that's how stupid they think you are. They know that they can get away with war. They know that they can lie to your face. It really makes you question so many things that happen in history. That all this out here, all these files released, all this readily available, they're still well, regulated. They can still cope about it. Just let the grift go. That's the funny thing. Like, what do people think the grift is at this point? That's the poker cost really helped me realize that. Like, the people that are calling me a grifter, what would the grift be? I don't understand. I was asking that to Matan, who's like, I'm still suspicious about you. You know, it's funny because, you know, he does play the character and stuff, and he says, I'm not Jewish anymore, but like he is Jewish. What would the grift be? Why would I grift Islam? Like, what is the content benefit there? What is the monetary benefit? What do I get out of that? Because people say that, like even that guy, the Nickeling, that Rumble millennial, you know, the guy with the beard and that I think he's a Zionist, this like random conservative talking about two genders. They say that I'm grifting Islam. What would the reason, like, why would I do that? For the fan base? So the fan base, I'm an American content creator. If I'm using Muslim for a fan base, then you get people from Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Malaysia. You get the audience that does not help your CPM. The highest CPM is from people in America. If you were using Muslim for a fan base, it literally provides the most inconvenient fan base to make content. You get the, brother, don't play music, it's haram. Brother, sneak. Please play nasheed instead of music. Brother, do not talk about this and that and this. You get the police, obviously not all of them, but that's what you're going to attract. You get content police, people that try, like, that want to be able to control you. And brother, please go to Pakistan. Okay, bro. Okay. Like, what's the again, like, Central C, congratulations, congrats to him. He just became a Muslim, but he's a rapper. It's like, so many of the lyrics that's common in hip hop, you wouldn't be able to use anymore because all that stuff is considered a sin. And obviously they don't apply, like, Christians they don't really police the same way. You don't get Christian rappers say, like, so many rappers are Christian, you see them criticize the same way, don't rap about this, don't rap about women, don't rap about, no, the criticism is not the same. That's just true. Everybody knows that. So if anybody can provide me with a real benefit, I would love to see, because I don't, it doesn't make any sense. But that's how stupid this stuff is, and why, you know, I've been covering Epstein, I've been covering Israel, I've been covering World War III for hours every day. I went live for 9 hours yesterday. Let me show you what gets 3 million views on X. This is the stuff that goes viral. And I distance myself from the red pill ideology 3 years.
I've made a whole video with him and this Abba. So if you want to, you can go see it. So we're gonna skip through all this. But yeah, Abba is a fucking fuckface. He should just shut the fuck up. He's a fucking bitch ass. Abba is a fucking bitch ass.
What y'all doing out here? Per capita argument? What was the mistake I made on the per capita argument? I saw you guys saying that. I think you should criminalize the prime. Like, how do you not know this? Like, that's what Hassan will say: fascism, fascism, Trump, MAGA, Trump, Trump, Trump. Like, bro, who owns Trump? Is this stuff? I don't know. They act like it's a conspiracy theory, or as if it's like, I was talking to Matan about this last night off stream. It's like, this stuff is not hard to figure out, right? Trump's not fascist. He pretty much is, bro. He kind of is, but the thing is, he's not a fascist for America. He's a fascist for Israel. It's so clear, right? Yeah, no, Trump wants to, like, shut out media organizations that criticize him. He wants to run for a third term. He doesn't care about, like, Congress, international law. Yeah, like, he does kind of operate like a fascist, 100%. Like, even that Venezuela is pretty fascist.
Yeah, so there's the Nickelodeon logo, right? And, like, the perspective I've got, I don't have a full top down, but you can almost see there's that little nub out there.
I think it's just the way that the camera is taking this picture. If you look at a direct bird's eye satellite view of Epstein Island, I mean, it's pretty much the Nickelodeon logo.
Dan, put it inside a Schneider.
Okay, so those pictures are just in. There is speculation right now that this might be AI, and of course, who knows? In this day and age, everything could be AI, of course. From the pictures alone, however, we see a person that looks exactly like Jeffrey Epstein with long beard and long hair being escorted by...
Chad wants to play Fortnite duos with Jeffrey Epstein. Me and Jeff are gonna drop Tilted. Me and Jeff. I'm gonna grab Jelaine Maxwell's chug jugs. Come on, win. Let's get it! Squad fail with Jeff.
Securities in Tel Aviv, Israel. And because we cannot know nowadays if this is AI indeed or not, however, what we can see here is Jeffrey Epstein's gaming account. This is no joke, this is the official gaming account of Jeffrey Epstein, little ST Jeff 1. And in his gaming log, we can see that he logged in and played Fortnite, out of all games, between December 2024 and February 2025. So now, of course, you could say, hey, maybe somebody got his account. Could be, anything is possible. However, we do see here that Jeffrey Epstein, or Jeffrey Epstein's account, was active.
Do you think Epstein plays on Builder Pro, or does he play no builds?
Playing Fortnite.
I actually think he's probably nice at Fortnite.
After his death. This is facts. The reason why people assume that this is AI, or maybe I shouldn't even say this is what people assume, but much rather this is being pushed right now. So right now, obviously, there's a huge fact-checking going on, and they claim that this picture has been bunged for sure. There's AI guaranteed, and allegedly you can see it on the shoe. So when we zoom into this shoe here, this part of the shoe allegedly shows that it's AI. For me personally, there's not sufficient reason to claim that this is therefore AI. I'm kind of weary, of course, because the fact checkers are all over it, and they want you now to believe and repeat that this is most definitely AI. And they did the same thing during the Corona times.
What's up? We know what they're gonna say. I should
a Christian spy that was doing
your
international
impression sucks, bro.
tracking, then that would be good.
Yeah, I said it. Jeffrey was cool as now what?
I've never seen a viewer drop off so quickly. It's like, oh, fuck, what's Bryce Mitchell and Ian saying? I want to learn about the Epstein files and research Jewish supremacy. You're gonna be on fucking it.
I just found something out about the NBA, and oh my goodness, you're not going to believe what I'm about to show you. Someone messaged me saying that he was at a Timberwolves game. They were giving out bobbleheads of D'Angelo Russell. He sent me a picture of the bobblehead, and I could not believe my eyes. The Illuminati sign with the eye in the middle, and the checkerboard. Checkerboard notorious for
Someone in the chat said Nick Fuentes hates Islam. But then I realized that, like, specifically during the debate, it is more valuable to show him the truth. If that's true, and people in general who hate Islam, it's literally more valuable to be charitable and try to soften their hearts to Islam than it is to be like, oh, you hate Islam? Then fuck you. Because there's already so much propaganda, like, then they're just going to hate Muslims more. Don't you see that? That I'm literally doing more, like, people like Abba will think, and maybe it's justified in their worldview, that, okay, this is restrictive and they want to put black people in prison or whatever. Is attacked.
Have any room in the magnet movement, and of course,
you disavow him
and of course, Donald Trump has criticized this person. Look, I think the guy's a total loser.
Do people think that I genuinely hate non-whites, Jews, women? I really don't. If that means anything to you, if that's worth anything, I really don't. I really don't hate anybody. I don't wake up with hatred for anybody.
Let's go. Oh my god, bro. I'm so sick of the same clips. Alright, let's go through the... Anything, like, important here? Anything important? I'm just gonna scroll these. Like, I feel like there's always too many clips. I swear, like, we see this shit every day. Do we not see this literally every time I go through clips? Do you guys... Is she trying to convince people away from Bitcoin? Trump's Justice Department is making life hell for legal weed. Why is she posting this? Was she anti-Trump in 2020? New York Times quit out. Trying to subvert Catholic.
Instead of...
Okay, while he goes over this, here's a document from the Epstein files just released, where the FBI is saying, they called it the FBI National Threat Operations Center to report a viral video of what appears to be Jeffrey Epstein torturing a young woman with a magnifying glass. Oh, we already see this. Yeah, it's talking about like, some guy on Facebook who, like, saw this, but that's not proof.
Emerged from the... They went through these 3 million documents. They did a command find or an AI search. They found the name of an ancient deity mentioned in the Bible. And they said, this email, which is already vague and ambiguous, this mention of Baal...
Who the fuck is that guy? The guy that was on your Steam
This verifies the claim that he was
stand your fucking base. Stand your base. A bigger goy than Tate.
Stand your base.
Well, we found out that this was most likely a transcription error. And whether the original document was scanned, or maybe the entry was mistyped, upon further...
Look at the schizo in the chat right here. He's saying, Sneako is controlled opposition as everyone else. It's all they show to keep NPCs busy. So then what do you want me... How is that controlled opposition because I'm here trying to make a good stream? You're controlled up because you're entertaining. You fucking dumb idiot. Yeah, they do control the... What? Like... Did you think that was a point? Yeah, this is entertainment.
Baal. That's one of those that got millions and millions of views, hundreds of thousands of likes, retweets, engagements. And surely you have many people in the country that now perceive that as an established fact. That is in their mind, that's in the consciousness, that is something that actually happened. He's a satanic pedophile. There was another one.
God damn it, Nick. Why the fuck are you trying to cover for fucking Epstein, BB, and everybody in fucking... that state?
Email from Epstein. He said, we have a yummy 19-year-old who is coming to visit. 19-year-old Brazilian girl.
Hey, yo.
Well, unfortunately, many of the emails, when they were uploaded, the data was corrupt. All of this has been assembled together into a narrative, a conspiracy theory. All of that contributes to a picture of who these people think Epstein was.
Am I farming?
And so the kinds of things that I see on TikTok and on Instagram and on Twitter, it is a summary of the facts.
Yeah.
And it says something like Epstein is a pedophile, Satanist, controlling our government.
Did he do nothing wrong?
This is the refrain that I see on all the viral posts. Our government is controlled by satanic pedophiles. Our government is controlled by occult pedophiles. Our government is controlled by satanic child molesters. And you can see how this information, you can see how the most extraordinary claims, like, for example, FBI tips that George W. Bush cut a girl open and ate her intestines and the fecal matter contained in her intestines. You can see how those types of things, which are not corroborated, which don't even make sense, other things which have been debunked, are being pooled together. And without being fact-checked, without being scrutinized, they're assembled together and creating a narrative, which then goes out into the zeitgeist. And now you have basically this consensus opinion forming in society that what Epstein is, when we think Epstein, what he is a satanic pedophile running the government. Our government's run by satanic pedophiles. And this is what I call the Epstein myth. This is the hoax. And it is a hoax. As we laid out on my show on Monday, which is called the Epstein hoax, so much of the data points in that myth are just not true. They're either not substantiated, not corroborated, or to the extent that there are bits and pieces that have been put together, upon closer investigation, they turn out not to be real at all. Why is this problematic? Because when we look at the evidence and we actually scrutinize what is occurring here, we find there's a very different picture of Epstein.
Talk about it.
We find the real Jeffrey Epstein.
In college.
And the real Jeffrey Epstein is quite different than the myth of Jeffrey Epstein.
Riz her.
And the real Jeffrey Epstein, I don't think, is a satanic pedophile that runs the government.
Facts, Nick.
The real Jeffrey Epstein is a Jewish fixer.
Clive, where's baddies?
That's the real Epstein. That is his essence. That is what defines him. That is the milieu that created him. That is the higher society that empowered him with money and connected him to powerful people. And ultimately, those are the interests that he served. And once you create this dichotomy, once you create this dialectic between the Epstein myth and the Epstein reality, you start to see that maybe the former is actually a kind of a limited hangout, which is to say that there are selected facts or stories or data points that are introduced to the public, the most salacious, the most sensational, the most outrageous, and they are literally curated for public consumption as a form of a giant diversion, as a form of a giant red herring. If the public is so fixated on things which are debunked, not real, but also things that are maybe extremely sensational, they get caught up in a completely different narrative, a completely different vision and version of who Epstein was. And then they never actually get down into the real facts, the real information, and ultimately, which elucidates the real Epstein. And so in a way, it's sort of like a layered psyop. You have this figure who is in the center, regardless of what you think about what he did and what he is, it is inarguable that he is at the center of higher society. He is a connector and a nexus for business, intelligence, government, for different countries. He's at the center of elite society. This person is exposed completely to the world, and all the people and how they operate and their dealings are exposed with him. Their emails, their investments, the places they went, the people that they knew, it has all come to light because he went down. The DOJ collected all of his information, and now it is in full public view, and there is attention on it, lots of attention. Now, how might you obfuscate the truth if it's in plain sight? How would you obfuscate if you are these powerful people and you want to protect this racket? And you want to conceal something which has been so exposed and for which there's so much attention on it, how would you conceal it?
I don't know.
Well, you would probably
add Temple Run, please. My dopamine levels are running low again.
Hide it, if you can't get people to stop talking about it, maybe you give them something else to talk about. Maybe you give them something more interesting to talk about, something more sensational, more extreme. You give them something that is actually not real. You don't have to get them to forget about Epstein. You just need them to not really understand what Epstein was doing.
And then Mog's a nigger homeless person ZYZZ style. That would be total awesome
sauce. So like I said, Monday we went through who Jeffrey Epstein is not, and we looked at fake images created by AI. Like I said, we went through some of these emails, many of them certainly eyebrow-raising and concerning but ambiguous, some of them completely fake, again, containing errors, some of them are forgeries, some of them are just misunderstood, people didn't do the due diligence. Tonight, I want to go into the real Epstein. Like I said, I'm going to paint a picture for you based on the real evidence inside the emails and the real data, which supports the claim, supports the vision of a Jeffrey Epstein who serves a very particular function, which is called a fixer.
Is boring to listen to.
I don't think that Epstein is somebody who was engaged in magic rituals. I don't think he was somebody that was a religious Satanist. I don't even think, strictly speaking, he was a pedophile. Oh my God. I think he was a pervert. And I think he liked younger girls and probably a sex addict and had eclectic tastes, interest in sadomasochism, interest in pornography and things like that. Yeah. And I think that what Epstein did for his clients is solve problems. Solving problems using his connections in government, in business, solving problems related to money,
Sneako,
but also
you are
political
the goat
problems.
We are brain fried
also
with you.
Providing a service, which was that he did traffic women. And so for the rich and powerful, one of the ways that he would get connections to serve his clients was introducing them to women.
Keep up the good work.
And the
Been
women
watching you
were
lately. You have good takes, man. Keep up the good work.
I don't think they were prepubescent. And again, that speaks to what his real role was. The age of the women kind of gives you a clue about what he was actually up to. Were they the youngest women possible because he was just that evil, or were they women who were just young enough where they could be leveraged as blackmail material? Young enough where they're attractive to an older man. He might not be a total sicko, but just a regular old person.
Shut up, Jake.
I think that's also what his real function was. So first, I want to talk about this article from Israel Times. It's sort of interesting. One of the things that's said about Epstein is that he's like an Israeli spy.
Why is he playing the Times of
people are
Israel?
talking about Epstein's connections in this world, people say that
porn.
he worked for Mossad.
There's not enough dopamine.
And unfortunately, I think this is really the only word that people know about Israel is Mossad. But as a matter of fact, Israel, like any country, has different factions. They have different intelligence agencies. They have different political parties. They have a right and a left. They have Israeli military intelligence. They have Shin Bet. They have Mossad. What I hear all day long about Epstein is he's Mossad, he works for Mossad. And it's interesting that since these files have been released by the DOJ last week, the Prime Minister of Israel actually came out and addressed the allegations head on. And Netanyahu said on Twitter yesterday that Epstein did not work for the state of Israel. But it's interesting what he said in particular in denying the claim. So there's all these allegations that Epstein is a Jewish spy, works for Mossad, works for Israel. The Prime Minister of Israel weighs in and says that's not true. Epstein never worked for Israel. He said the reason why is because Epstein's connections were to Netanyahu's political rival, Ehud Barak.
Okay.
So for those that don't know, Netanyahu is on the political
That was a
right
semantic
in
wordplay
Israel.
of the best sort.
Netanyahu is a lifelong member of the Likud party, which is a far-right party in Israel.
Okay.
And they've been in power virtually the entire time for the last 50 years, with some exceptions.
I love you, Habibi. May I love you
So
with you against
Netanyahu,
these
in order
Yahudis.
to throw off these allegations that Epstein was in any way involved with him or with Israel in general, he says, well, that's impossible because Epstein worked with my political opposition, Ehud
Sneako's
Barak, who
thoughts
comes
on
from the
those?
left.
I don't care.
And Netanyahu says Ehud Barak, being of the left,
Clive, where's
is
the girls?
fundamentally opposed
Where's
to
those
Israel's
girls?
national interest. This is what Netanyahu
Where's
had
the
to say.
baddies?
This is from the Times
After
of Israel.
everything
It says,
Nick
quote,
has said about the
Prime
prophet
Minister
and general
Benjamin
insults,
Netanyahu
why
said
do you give him
Friday
grace?
that the, quote,
Just
new
wondering
unusual
about the
close
reality of all
relationship
this.
between
Watch my
former
fucking
Prime
content
Minister
again.
Ehud
I just
Barak
talked about it for like
and
2
Jeffrey
hours,
Epstein
4
proves the
hours.
latter was not an Israeli agent. Netanyahu wrote, quote, Jeffrey Epstein's unusual close relationship with Ehud Barak does
It is
not
losing
suggest
touch.
Epstein worked for
I
Israel.
feel like they should bring back the
Actually, it
death
proves the
sentence for
opposite.
PDF files.
He
Crazy
writes,
how all these people
stuck
will
on
get
his
away.
election loss from
Much
over 2
love,
decades
Sneako.
ago, Barak
You
has
guys are
for
showing
years
this yet, right?
obsessively attempted to undermine Israeli democracy by working with the anti-Zionist radical left in failed attempts to overthrow the elected Israeli government.
Hey, Sneako, they're
Barak's
turning the
personal
freaking frogs
fixation
gay.
led
Okay,
him
fine,
to
I'll
engage in
shut up.
activities publicly and behind the scenes to undermine the government of Israel, including
Fucking
fueling
losing,
mass protest movements, fomenting unrest, and feeding false media narratives. The U.S. Justice Department's release of millions of internal documents related to Epstein last week revealed and confirmed his ties to many prominent people in politics, finance, academia, and business, including Barak,
Where's the baddies,
who
Klaus?
succeeded Netanyahu as prime minister from 1999 to 2001, and then served as
There you go.
Netanyahu's defense
I am
minister from
scrolling TikTok
2009 to
and watching this
2013.
on my TV.
W.
There is no evidence of wrongdoing by Barak, a former IDF chief who was Netanyahu's commanding officer in the elite Matkal unit. However, after a previous Justice Department release
We
of
are
Epstein
ADHD
files
maxing
showed
today,
the
chat.
financier claiming
For
to have
different
advised
clips.
Barak's
I can't
2019
focus
election
right now.
campaign,
I'm so bad at the game. I'm
Netanyahu
getting
in
destroyed.
November shared an article from an anti-Israel socialist outlet which suggested, based on Epstein's ties to Barak, that the sex offender had once worked for Israeli
why are you doing
intelligence.
this to us? Holy fuck. Just
this is
stop
sort of
this. Give us
interesting.
ching chong, ching chong, ching chong.
Netanyahu gets up and says, there is no proof that Epstein worked for Israel or worked for Mossad. Why? Because Epstein's connection to Israel was a left-wing politician.
When you're going to realize
named
Nick's
Ehud
not, you
Barak.
realize
Shut the
that
fuck
best
up,
case
bro.
scenario
He
happens,
says
and you
what I'm
guys
saying.
win.
For
He's the
that
first one
reason,
running to that open
and
seat
reason
of
being,
power.
rather, he said Ehud Barak, being of the political left, stands in opposition against the right-wing government. Ehud Barak is working with the Israeli left
Sneako,
to
it is
protest
completely
the right-wing
intrinsic and
Israeli
asinine
government
that I want to
with
penetrate the
mass
shit out of your
protests
brown clown
and
ass. Let me
influence
orderly
campaigns
record
and
my
media.
order.
So this would sort of be like if Donald Trump said Epstein could never be in the CIA because he's associated with Bill Clinton, who is anti-American. It would sort of like
Oh my
be the
God.
same thing as
Clap
saying
kiss
that.
her now.
Facts.
Epstein could never be a CIA agent. He could never be an American asset because his only connection to the government was former Democrat President Bill Clinton. And how does that make sense? Well, even though Bill Clinton was a former president, he's an anti-American, radical left-wing guy. He wants America to be destroyed. It doesn't really make any sense.
Facts.
Ehud Barak was a former prime minister of Israel
Bob,
and
kiss her.
served in
Kiss her,
Netanyahu's
Bob.
government as the defense minister.
Finger her.
Epstein's connection to the Israeli government is Ehud Barak.
APA asked you if
we'll
the
go through
Holocaust
some
was
of their
bad.
connections in a
Well,
moment.
if it eliminated the worst
He
people on
worked for
Earth that wanted
Netanyahu,
to
was
destroy
the head of the
humanity,
country, and
was
maybe
it really
more
bad?
importantly than all of that,
You're such a stupid idiot.
Ehud
Leave
Barak
forever.
was the former head of Israeli military intelligence. Ehud Barak served in the IDF, the Israeli Defense
The reason no
Forces,
Muslims weren't on the
and
files
rose
because
through
they've
the
been fucking
ranks
kids forever.
inside the Israeli
Now it's no
intelligence
secret.
community and eventually became its head at the end of the last century in the 80s and 90s. What's notable about this is that ever since Ehud Barak left politics in the early 2000s, which he did for about a decade, he then became a salesperson for Israeli intelligence companies.
Bob, kiss her.
He worked with Unit 8200, which is Israeli intelligence, one of their elite units, to infiltrate Silicon Valley. And Unit 8200, Israeli
Enjoy sucking
intelligence
Nick off
operatives were
Epstein
sent
wasn't
out
the PDF files, he was just
in
a
the
perv.
first 2 decades of the 21st century into the United States, specifically into California. And they were told to create internet startups, tech startups, so that they
Sneako,
could
I'm your
slowly
teammate in
infiltrate
Rocket
the
League
defense
and you're fucking
technology
trash
sector.
kid.
This effort was
Lock in,
spearheaded by Ehud Barak
Let's go.
in close proximity to and in association with the Israeli intelligence
Well, tech teams in
establishment.
Israel.
This is a story from the
Unacceptable
Jacobin
W from
magazine, the
Nicholas J.
left-wing
Fuentes.
magazine, about Epstein's ties to Barak. This is what it says. This is based on the files that came out last week. It says, quote, Jacobin looked at more than 1,000 documents from the latest trove and identified more than 60 instances between September 2010 and March 2019 in which Barak and Epstein arranged to meet face-to-face, usually in New York, but
Osman
other times
raped
in Florida,
Armin
Boston, Paris, or even Epstein's infamous private island, Little St. James. At least 7 of those meetings took place while Barak was still serving as Minister of Defense for Israel. That count does not include the dozens more times where the two arranged or tried to arrange to talk over the phone or via video call, nor their frequent email exchanges to each other. It also does not necessarily include the more than 24 times in that period that Barak stayed at one of Epstein's properties, typically the Upper East Side apartment building on 301 East 66th Street,
66.
which he owned,
Fuck yeah, 2
and which
apartments.
his staff
Damn,
referred
it's
to
301.
internally as simply 301.
Clav, riz her.
The disclosures add to the recent stream of explosive revelations about Epstein's relationship to Barak and in turn to the Israeli state.
Clav's mogging the girl.
Epstein, long rumored to have ties to Israeli intelligence, has, in a series of stories by Dropsite News, been revealed to have worked with Barak to broker security agreements and arms sales on behalf of Israel. Last year, Jacobin revealed that Epstein had privately claimed to have been behind Barack's 2019 political comeback in Israel. Revelations that, after being tweeted by current Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, caused a firestorm in the country. Okay? So, one of the lesser reported aspects of Epstein's life, people say, well, he is Mossad. People say he is with Israel. And in a certain sense, this is a little bit vague. This is a little bit too broad and general. And I feel like this is not being highlighted at all. What I see all day, all week on TikTok, on Instagram is
what?
Satanic. He's a satanic pedophile. He's an occultist. He's a cannibal. He's part of this sort of mysterious, esoteric thing. When you drill down into it, there's nothing esoteric or mysterious at all.
Nick, he had a sex magic book.
He
right next
was
to
an
the
operative working not even necessarily with Mossad in particular, but actually with Israel's military. He's working with the IDF. This is according to a left-wing paper, which is probably sympathetic to Israel's Labor Party. It says there are no fewer than 60 instances when they met face-to-face in a 10-year period. Epstein and the former Prime Minister of Israel, and then even at times when that former Prime Minister, Ehud Barak, was serving as the defense minister. And like I said, this guy in particular, earlier in his career, was the head of Israeli military intelligence. They together are working alongside each other on arms contracts, surveillance contracts, intelligence contracts to foreign governments all over the world and to Silicon Valley. They're working together on deals with Palantir, deals with Carbine. They're working together on deals in West Africa, all over the world.
Oh, he's here.
And so there's not actually a lot of ambiguity about any of this. No spelling errors, typos, anything like that. This is actually the bulk of the emails. This is the substance of what's actually there. Epstein is working hand in glove with the Israeli state and in particular with the Israeli military. But here's a bigger question. So this is raised in the Times of Israel. Netanyahu tweets about it. He's trying to defend the government of Israel from its connections to Jeffrey Epstein. One other thing that I want to point out about this, because this is actually an important little aside. Whenever you talk about the Jewish issue or the Israel issue, one of the big questions that you hear all the time is what are we talking about really?
Facts.
When we talk about the Jews, Israel, Zionists, people like to say, is it all Jews or is it just the Zionists? Is it the state of Israel or is it just a faction within the state of Israel? This particular political party or this leader, the current leader and his specific policies as the current prime minister of Israel. And what a lot of people like to say in response to this question is that, well, Jews are not a monolith. And even within the state of Israel, there is so much ideological diversity. You hear this all the time. People say, no, it's not the Jews. They say there is no such thing as the Jews. Why? They say because Jews are not monolithic, meaning that not all Jews think the same, believe the same things, have the same convictions. People say, what about all those Jews that are against the war in Gaza? What about all those Jews that maybe don't even support the existence of Israel? And then take it a step further. People say even Israel isn't monolithic because there's a right wing in Israel and a left wing in Israel. People say that the right wing in Israel, the Likud party, believes the same things that the Republican Party does. On the other side, people say, well, maybe the right wing in Israel supports the genocide, but there are other Jews that do not.
Call Alice.
What is interesting about these revelations with Epstein is it reveals how little those distinctions actually matter.
He's right. Nick's right.
So, for example, people like to say, well, for example, George Soros. George Soros is a Jew, a billionaire. He's a huge supporter of the American far left, the European far left, mass migration, and he also supports the far left in Israel.
True.
And people like to use this as an example to say there's all this diversity. There is no monolith. It is so heterogeneous. They say, and so the existence of a figure like Soros and a figure like Netanyahu, that just goes to show that when we talk about this issue, it is not really based in reality to talk about the Jews as an entity, or even Israel for that matter as an entity.
True.
But what Epstein shows us, even though Epstein was working with the left-wing opponent of Netanyahu, it really doesn't matter. Epstein is working with Netanyahu's nemesis.
Yeah, he is.
He's working with Ehud Barak, who Netanyahu was fighting against in 2019, who Netanyahu was trying to associate with the Israeli far left in 2019, and yesterday in 2026.
Right, Nick?
Netanyahu and even the Zionists in America, even the pro-Israel Jews in America that are in Trump world, they like to say, see, Epstein was not an agent of Israel. He was working with the Israeli left. He wasn't a Mossad spy. He wasn't working with the Israeli state or Netanyahu. He was working with Ehud Barak.
Claudia, you're sending do drugs.
And it is true that Epstein's point of contact was with this person, with Barak. And yet it is a distinction without a difference because at the end of the day, Ehud Barak was the head of Israel's military intelligence, not the head of left-wing military intelligence. He was the head of their intelligence community.
Right.
He used those connections in Israel, in the United States, but also in other countries to sell Israeli military tech, to infiltrate other governments, other tech companies with Unit 8200 operatives. And he was working with Ehud Barak when Ehud Barak was serving Netanyahu as his defense minister in the latter half of the last decade.
Capping, right.
So people like to say, well, it's not a monolith. There's a right and left there too.
Yeah, but whatever.
It's not a monolith. They don't all agree. They don't all think the same things. Well, in this case, It's a distinction without any meaningful difference. He was working with the Israeli state, and in particular with their military, their military intelligence in their campaign to infiltrate the world's surveillance states, intelligence agencies, tech industries, and militaries. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because I want to go even a little bit further on that question in particular.
I've got tech teams in
this idea of what are the Jews? Are they a monolith? Are they to blame? Here's another question. So Epstein has this relationship to the Israeli state with Ehud Barak. And if you actually read the emails, what is Epstein doing? Epstein is putting Ehud Barak on to various tech companies. Epstein is making introductions for Ehud Barak. One of the big introductions he makes is to Peter Thiel. Jeffrey Epstein introduces Ehud Barak to Peter Thiel.
Call the girl.
And tries to get Barak to invest in Peter Thiel's company, Palantir, which is very interesting. Because for those that are in the know, what Palantir is an algorithm company. It's a metadata company.
I've got
Their job is to take tons of data and create algorithms, and lately using artificial intelligence to interpret vast sums of data. And you could say, well, what is the use of this sort of technology? Well, for the first 8 years of its existence, Palantir was working with the CIA. And so Palantir would take all the data that the CIA collects, all the data that the CIA collects on foreign governments, and even on U.S. citizens, all the data they collect from people overseas, billionaires, oligarchs, you name it. It's being fed into Palantir so that they can action the data. And who knows who they're giving that to, if they're giving that to their black sites, their kill squads, their operatives in the field. Then they open it up after 2008 to the FBI. And so now the FBI is using Palantir. When they're going to a crime scene and they're investigating, they're going to run the information and the names, license plates through Palantir software. Where else have we seen this license plate? Where else have we seen some of this information? Recently, under the second Trump administration, Palantir software has been introduced to various government departments and agencies. To the Treasury Department, to the Social Security Administration, Health and Human Services. Ostensibly, it was brought in under the aegis of the DOGE cost-cutting program. In order to cut all the waste, fraud, and abuse, we need to take these vast amounts of data about federal expenditures and beneficiaries, and we need to be able to interpret that data. So who do we bring in? Well, we bring in the PayPal Mafia. We bring in Palantir.
This is JD Vance.
And even though DOGE is over, the Palantir software remains.
Hustlers University.
And so, what was Epstein's role? He was introducing Ehud Barak to Peter Thiel. In other words, introducing the head of Israeli military intelligence, who is running a front, sending Israeli intelligence operatives into the United States, into Silicon Valley to infiltrate our defense tech sector. Epstein was introducing this person to our American defense tech scion, Peter Thiel, that created this now all-important company, which recently became one of the top 10 biggest tech companies by market cap.
All right, TTS at 5.
And more on that later. We'll actually unpack that in much greater detail later in the show.
See that save?
First, it's very important to understand, how did Jeffrey Epstein get in that position?
Oh my God, I'm nice.
Where actually did his money come from? Because, as always, with these people that sort of appear on the scene and have large amounts of money or political clout or connections, you actually have to question how they arrived. You can't start in the middle of the story where Epstein has an island and a townhouse and is friends with everybody and a billionaire. You have to start at the beginning of the story. How did he get his billions? How did he come into possession of a private island? How did he meet all these people? And this answer is actually very simple. Epstein was enriched by two people.
Leon Black and
for the most part. His vast sums of money, the majority of it came from exactly two clients by the name of Leon Black and Les Wexner.
Okay, Ohio.
Both of them Jewish.
He's going to go to Palantir in Ohio.
First, let's talk about Leon Black. This is a New York Times article about him and his connection to Jeffrey Epstein. And then we'll work through his story and how he got to be rich and how he came to be involved with Epstein. It says, quote, Mr. Epstein had no formal training in tax and estate planning, but after a few years working at an investment bank, he convinced a few business elites to hire him for financial advice. Mr. Black found Mr. Epstein to be impressive and a little mysterious. It wasn't just his ties to the ultra-wealthy. He also seemed to always be surrounded by beautiful women. Leon Black told a publication last year, quote, he was almost like a James Bond villain. In 1997, long before Mr. Epstein became a formal advisor to Mr. Black, he and his wife Deborah put Mr. Epstein on the board of directors of their newly created family foundation. A couple years later, Mr. Black and two other Apollo executives donated $500,000 to one of Epstein's nonprofits.
L. Black, Nick.
Epstein introduced Mr. Black to several young women.
L. Black.
Some of the women later accused Mr. Black of abusing them.
Classic Black.
In 2002, for example, Mr. Epstein arranged for Mr. Black to meet Sherry Pearson, who Mr. Epstein had paid for massages, according to a lawsuit. Then Ms. Pearson filed years later and eventually withdrew. She met Mr. Black in Mr. Epstein's townhouse, where Mr. Black raped her in the massage room. Mr. Black denied the claim and said he had never met Ms. Pearson. While Mr. Epstein repeatedly rattled off the projects he said he was undertaking for Mr. Black, the actual role that he played, as well as the true value of his work, is unclear. Yet Mr. Epstein told Mr. Black that the work was highly valuable. Ultimately, Mr. Black coughed up the fees that Mr. Epstein requested. The total would reach $170 million in total. By a wide margin, Mr. Black was Mr. Epstein's greatest source of income after 2012. The runner-up was the French banker Ariane de Rothschild, who paid Mr. Epstein at least $15 million.
Central bank system.
So when you think about these sums of money, after 2012, Leon Black gives him $170 million. The next biggest client is only $15 million.
Rothschild.
and happens to be a member of the Rothschild family.
Ooh, come on, Klaus.
So you have Leon Black, Jewish financier, head of Apollo Global Management. Runner-up is the Rothschilds. Mr. Epstein also gave Mr. Black access to his Rolodex. Over the years, he connected him with Bill Gates and Stephen Bannon.
Bro.
He introduced one of Mr. Black's sons to Woody Allen to learn about film editing.
Chad, is this Goy
Mr.
Slap,
Black,
yes or no?
meanwhile, donated millions to one of Mr. Epstein's charities.
Is this Goy Slap?
Some work that Mr. Epstein performed for Mr. Black required the utmost discretion. For instance, he helped him keep a long-running extramarital affair under wraps. So this is where Epstein gets his money. How did he get rich? How did he become a billionaire? He gets it.
Jews believe the Bible, what happened in the Bible is literal. It is actually what happened. And by believing that the Bible is literal and true, then you become a Jew. Okay? And that's why the Jewish identity is very flexible. Okay? So at this point in history, when the Jews were loyal to Persia, there are some characteristics that will change over time. The first major characteristic is that the center of worship is in Jerusalem, the second temple. Okay? So if you're a Jewish person, you must make animal sacrifices to Yahweh. And therefore, the Sadducees, these are hereditary priests, they are the ones who control the religion. Then there are strict laws that govern how people behave. So for example, you must rest on the Sabbath. You also cannot marry outside your religion. You must be circumcised, okay? So there are all these restrictions on how people behave. Over time, what happened is that the Jews will expand across the world. A lot of Jews will work as mercenaries in actually the Great Army as he conquers Persia. And as the Hellenistic world comes into being, Jews will move around for economic opportunities, right? They'll work as officials, they'll work as artisans, they'll work as tradespeople, as merchants. And so they're scattered around the Hellenistic world. And as we discussed, at this point in history, the three major cultures that we've looked at, the Jewish culture, the Greek culture, and the Persian culture will merge together in a process we call synchronization. And that gives birth basically to Western civilization. Unfortunately, what happens is that over time, because the Jerusalem is so important, and because the Jews believe there are special people who only worship the one true God, that will cause conflict with the Greeks. Okay? The Greeks also are very chauvinistic, very proud people who believe their culture is superior. And quite honestly, a lot of Jews will convert to the Hellenistic lifestyle. Okay? But this causes conflict. And ultimately, this will culminate in something called the Maccabean Revolt, where a certain group of Jews decide to rebel against the Greeks. And even though they're a minority, even though most Jews actually do not support them, because of their religious conviction, because of the will of God, they will triumph and they will establish the Maccabean kingdom. And this victory is celebrated today in something called the Hanukkah festival, okay? Hanukkah. And that's a celebration of the Maccabees' revolt against the Greeks. And the reason why is the Greeks wanted the Jews to celebrate their religion as well. They want to turn the Second Temple into a site to worship Greek gods. And so the fanatical Jews rebelled against that. Okay? All right. But this kingdom of the Maccabees will not last very long. Again, the problem is that Jerusalem, it is the nexus of empires. And so what happens, the Romans will come and take control over this area. And the Romans are actually worse than the Greeks. The Romans are being more chauvinistic, more discriminatory towards the Jews. And this will launch three major wars between the Romans and the Jews. The entire Jewish diaspora will revolt against the Romans, and this will lead to many, many Jews being massacred because the Romans are vicious people. In the year 70, they burned down the Second Temple to destroy the morale of the Jews. And because they destroyed the Second Temple, this causes a shift in the Jewish religion. Because remember, at this point in history, the Second Temple is a site of Jewish worship. This is the house of God. This is where Yahweh lives, okay? So when the Second Temple is destroyed, what happened is that the Jews, many Jews will choose to convert to Christianity, okay? Because remember, we discussed how Paul created Christianity as a mechanism for Jews to still be Jews, but at the same time be Roman as well. Okay, that's the idea of the Christian religion. But those who stay become much more fanatical. In fact, they develop a very messianic eschatological attitude, meaning the end of the world is coming, God is coming to destroy the Romans, and we must show our loyalty to God.
This shit is so
and so they keep on the
wide.
fight, even though they've lost the war against Romans, they will go into the Arabian desert, where they will incubate a new religion called Islam, and they will prophesy the coming of the Messiah, who will turn out to be Muhammad, right?
No. It's that, no. He just got that wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This is rare Professor Jiang L. No, the prophet in Islam is Jesus, Isa.
Honestly, prophet, this Chinese prophet, he don't know what he's speaking about 80% of the time. He's just repeating some bullshit.
Isa, did you say the Jews created Islam? Wait.
So, the Messiah, who will turn out to be a new religion called Islam, they will go into the Arabian desert. And so they keep on the fight, even though they've lost the war against Romans, they will go into the Arabian desert.
You are making a difference. Thank you for everything you do, Sneako. Keep going.
Thank you so much.
Where they will incubate a new religion called Islam, and they will prophesy the coming of the Messiah, who will turn out to be Muhammad, right?
What? That's not true. You said they'll prophesy the coming of the Messiah.
How long you been watching? Had to go for a while.
It's Prophet Isa. Prophet Jesus. What? That's just false. They were Jewish at the time, but then became Christian. Wait, what?
So at this point in history,
Do you want
the
6
Jews
million cheese pizzas for your private island or 200,000?
This is so stupid, bro. So stupid.
must leave Jerusalem because the Romans basically kicked them out, and their religion.
You're saying I'm confused, I'm not paying attention. He said that Jews created Islam and that Muhammad is the Messiah.
Like, even though they've lost the war against Romans, they will go into the Arabian desert where they will incubate a new religion called Islam. And
so the Jews incubated a new religion called Islam in the Arabian desert with the Messiah called Muhammad.
They will prophesize the coming of the Messiah, which turns out to be Muhammad, right? So at this point in history, the Jews must leave Jerusalem because the Romans basically kicked them out, and their religion was splintered into many different factions. But the major characteristic is that they've gone from temple worship to worship of their law, okay, the law of Moses. And so the rabbis come into power. Before it was the Sadducees, the priests who control the temple, who are in charge. Now it's the rabbis. The rabbis are basically the Pharisees.
A sheep shitted on my chest in Dubai at 13. Epstein made me orgasm at 14.
$10. I don't want to hear this.
Jews.
Rabbis come into power after a temple destroyed.
The oral law of Moses. Okay, so they become the new elite in the Jewish diaspora. And so as we discussed, a lot of Jews at this time convert to Christians. All the early Christians were Jews, okay? And as we discussed, what will happen is those Jews who are almost fanatical, they will escape into the Arabian desert and they will incubate Islam. And eventually, Islam will conquer the world. At this point, they feel as though they've achieved the Messianic age. And they have returned to Jerusalem. Now, the Jews believe that in the Messianic age, the Messiah will come, lead them to victory, bring all the Jews back to Jerusalem, and build the third temple, and usher in the Messianic age. Okay, and that's what they believe happened. And so this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, and this is meant to be the third temple. Over time, what will happen is they will change it.
Wait, what's this called now?
And this is meant to believe happened. And so this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem.
What the fuck is he? His accent's hard to hear.
And this
Elastic Mosque in Jerusalem, is that how do you pronounce it? Elastic Mosque. Oh, Al-Aqsa. He's saying Al-Aqsa. I heard Elastic Mosque. Okay. Al-Aqsa is the third temple. I heard Al-Aqsa. Al-Aqsa Mosque.
This is meant to be the third temple. Over time, what will happen is they will change it to become a center of Islamic worship.
Kind of weird if that were true. Because most Jews in Arabia rejected Muhammad.
Khaybar, ya Yahud! Daija Muhammad, baya Yahud! Look at the story of Khaybar if you believe that. I don't think that's true. And I don't think he knows who the true Messiah in Islam is. It's not Muhammad, peace be upon him.
It was really the third temple. And so at this point, a lot of Jews convert to Islam as well. Because they think that Muhammad is their Messiah.
What? Nigga, what's your source?
Okay, so a lot of Jews are converted to Christianity and Islam, but there are a lot of Jews who do not. And they settle throughout the world, okay? Let's look at Europe at this point. So what's happening in Europe is that Europe is becoming more and more Christian, but the Jews are allowed to stay. And what will happen over time is that they will be persecuted, massacred, expelled from...
This map is wrong. In the Balkans, there was a lot of Jews, and Anatolia, a lot of Jews, here, a lot of Jews. This map is totally wrong. Scandinavia, a lot of Jews, so wrong map.
Many different places in Europe. I'm not sure if you can see this map clearly, but the circles, okay, are places where there was at least one Jewish expulsion. So this is a terrible time for the Jews because they settle in a place, they're trying to practice religion, and then after they've settled in, they're expelled by the people. So when does it happen? Okay. Well, what's happening is that the Jews come to an arrangement with the European nobility, okay? And there's a deal, there's a contract. That's not written down, but it's understood. Basically, what the Jews agree to is they become slaves to nobility, okay? Because in the Christian religion, you're not allowed to charge interest. You're not allowed to make bank loans to peasants and charge interest. But that's the most profitable business you can get into, right? So you, as nobles, can't do it. What do? Well, you get the Jews to do it for you. And not only that, but you get the Jews to also manage your property. Jews are actually very good at industry and trade. There's a Jewish diaspora,
This is
right?
Pope Leo 14 are my sisters and brothers, ready for the next crusade claim victory.
So Jews were slaves to nobility, and because the Christians couldn't use usury, they had their Jew slaves do it.
Jews make very good merchants because they're able to access different networks around the world. That's very important if you're the elite. Also, the Jews can make loans to you for wars and stuff. Okay? And Jews are very good at finance. They're very good at medicine. Okay? So the Jews become very independent. They become a very important part of the European economy. Okay? And the last reason, which is the most problematic, is that the Jews are kept around as a scapegoat. Okay, so in our society, we have poor people. Why? To put fear into people, right? If you don't work hard in school, you don't make a lot of money, you end up like poor and homeless, right? Well, in Catholic Europe, remember the Catholic Church is in charge at this point. The Catholic Church want to keep Jews around to scare the Christians and say, hey, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're end up like the Jews. Okay?
What? Catholic Church kept Jews around to scare people. If you don't follow us, you'll end up like Aiden. I mean, like Jews.
And so what happens is that this arrangement is fine when the economy is good. But what happens when the economy is bad? What happens when people are angry? The Jews get blamed, right? Because the Jews are the ones who are loan sharks. The Jews are the ones who kill Jesus. The Jews are the ones who are causing all the spiritual pollution, right? And so this is an implicit contract made between the Jews and the European nobility. You're allowed to stay and make a lot of money, but when we need a scapegoat, you get blamed and you have to leave. Okay, or possibly get massacred as well. So it's a terrible, terrible deal for the Jews. But they keep it because they want to practice their religion. Okay?
So they were slaves at the time.
All right. So there's one place in Europe that is very friendly towards the Jews. And this is actually the wealthiest part of Europe. It's Spain, okay? At this point, it's controlled by the Muslims. And remember, the difference between the Muslims and the Catholics is the Catholics persecute the Jews because they think that the Jews killed Jesus. But the Muslims don't believe that. The Muslims believe that the Jews, the Christians, the Muslims are all one big family, okay? They're all descendants of Abraham. So the Jews and the Christians are treated very well in Spain, and Jews rise up very high within the Al-Andalus system, okay? Because they're very literate, they know the Bible very well. The Bible is a holy book. They have connections to the Jewish diaspora around the world, and they are extremely good at finance, okay? So the Jews prosper in this region. The problem is that over time, this region will be reconquered by the Christians. And now the Christians will continue to persecute the Jews and force Jews to convert. Okay, so this is when the Jews, Christians, and Islam get on very well in Spain. Okay, but in 1492, the Spanish will expel the Jews from Spain. You either convert or you leave. Okay, and a lot convert and a lot go off to the Ottoman Empire. Okay, and this was a traumatic event in Jewish history because they were extremely well established in Spain. They felt they were Spanish. And now suddenly they lost everything, okay? Now a lot did convert. And this caused this schism, a divide, schism within the Jewish religion. Those who converted and those who refused to convert now became bitter enemies, okay? Okay, so what will happen now is a lot of Jews choose to settle in the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth, which is a new nation. And because it's a new nation, they need a lot of people. So what they will do is they will have extremely tolerant policies towards the Jews. You're allowed to practice your own religion. So a lot of Jews from around the world settle in the Polish Lutheran Commonwealth. And again, they thrive. They do extremely well. But the problem is that this area can be easily invaded. And because it becomes more wealthy, more people start to invade it from Sweden, from Russia, and so war breaks out. And a lot of Jews get killed. So it gets worse and worse for the Jews. When they think they finally found a home, they have to suffer this persecution. So all this history creates a major crisis of faith among Jewish people, okay? And the three big questions is, the first law in the Jewish religion is do not worship false idols. That's the first law of the Ten Commandments. So why is it that Jews can convert to Christianity and Islam and not suffer any consequences? Okay? And why should we Jews converting? If Yahweh is a true God and Yahweh demands complete obedience to Him, why is it okay to convert? Okay, that's a problem. Second problem is, what did Jews do wrong exactly to be persecuted and massacred like this? Yeah, okay, some Jews convert to Christianity and Islam, but go punish them, man. Why are the Jews who are loyal to Yahweh punished? That makes no sense. Okay, and the third big question is, if Yahweh promised the Jews a homeland called the Promised Land, why don't they have it? Why are they kicked out? For 100 years, despite all the persecution, despite all the trauma, they stayed loyal to Yahweh. So why is this happening? This creates a crisis of faith, okay? And so whenever there's a crisis of faith, Jews believe it is the end time. So the world's coming to an end, and the Messiah is coming. Okay, so at this point in history, about the year 1600, there's this heavy anticipation of the coming of Messiah. And so what will happen is that one man named Zatai Zevi, who was born in the Ottoman Empire, he will declare himself the Messiah. Okay? And Zatai Zevi is the equivalent of Jesus in the Jewish religion. Now, we don't actually know much about him. The reason why is that what we know about him, a lot of information was written by his enemies, the rabbis. His followers are pretty secretive, okay?
Whoa. What year is this chat? What year is this chat? Tell me. What does that say? Oh, wow. Wow, huh?
What I think happened is this. whenever you have a Messiah come, what the Messiah does is he's essentially a revolutionary. He's trying to overthrow the social order. Okay? And his major concern is, why are Jews being persecuted like this? And his answer is, because we're not practicing the true faith. What we have are all these laws created by the rabbis. Well, who are the rabbis? The rabbis are just a corrupt elite, like every priest class before. They're like the Catholic Church, right? The Catholic Church is a hierarchy, and so over time they become extremely corrupt. The rabbis don't really suffer that much persecution, right? So when Jews are massacred and persecuted, guess what, guys? It's usually not the Jewish elite that's massacred and persecuted, right? And also, the rabbis are the ones who are helping the European elite persecute the Jews, right? Because it is the rabbis that control the Jews, and to maintain control of the Jews, they come into these unfair agreements with the European nobility. So for Sabbatai Zevi, the real problem is a hierarchy within the religion. The real problem are these laws that don't make any sense. Don't eat pork. So the Sabbath, right? Rest on Saturday. You're not convert to other religions. Doesn't make any sense. What should matter is your faith in God. If we are a people, if we are a family born of Abraham, and we share one blood, then who cares what you dress like, what you look like? We're all one blood. The faith in your heart is what matters. And also, there should be no hierarchy. People should be free to choose their religion. People should be free to choose their own lifestyle. People should be free to choose their own laws. If God loves us, if there's a divine spark in us, then we should know what is right and what is wrong. Okay? So, there are three things that he does that's really important. The first and most important thing is he proposes an egalitarian society where men and women are all equal, where there's no more hierarchy, where the rabbis are not above you because the law doesn't exist anymore. Okay? What matters is your relation to God. So in many ways, he's a proto-liberal and a proto-communist. Okay? He believes that the system designed as it is, where you must obey the rabbi and we must await for the coming of Messiah who will take us back to Jerusalem, it's meant to defend the status quo. It's meant to make the Jews slaves to the nobility. Okay? So he's very much a proto-liberal and proto-communist. And we'll discuss his influence on our journey next class.
Get
Okay, so that's the first thing I want you guys to remember.
job making fried
Second
rice.
thing I want you guys to remember is that he ultimately converts to Islam. Okay? So when he announced himself as... That's the first thing I want you guys to remember. Second thing I want you guys to remember is that he ultimately converts to Islam. Okay? So when he announced himself as Messiah, 1 million Jews follow him because he's preaching a message of liberation, of equality, of freedom. And so 1 million Jews follow him. But then he does something that's really weird, which confuses people, which is he's supposed to, as a Messiah, take them to war against the Ottoman Empire and restore Jerusalem to the Jewish nation. But when he's converted by the Sultan basically says to him, the turban or your head. The turban means you convert to Islam or I will cut your head off. Sabbatai Zevi converts to Islam. And I was like, why did he do that? And the reason why he did that is you need to understand, he's a Messiah who's come to redeem the Jews, right? You've got millions of Jews who, in the centuries, have converted to Christianity, to Islam. According to the rabbis, these people will burn in hell.
He folded.
But if they're all part of one family, if they all have the divine spark, then they must be redeemed as well before we can have heaven on earth. So Sabbatai Zevi, what he does is, by converting, he sacrifices himself, just like Jesus sacrificed himself on the cross to redeem us from the original sin. He is now redeeming the Jews, all Jews, from the original sin of conversion. Okay? And so, by doing this, he's saying, it's okay to convert, guys. In fact, I've absolved you of the original sin with God, so now you can now be close with God. And therefore, you don't have to follow the laws anymore. Okay? The Messianic age has come, because you are the Messianic age now. So the last thing he suggests is the idea of justification by sin. Okay? And again, there's been a lot of misinterpretation that this just means that, oh, it's okay to break the laws now. Okay? In fact, Sabbatai Zevi, he converts to Islam, he eats pork, and he has a lot of sex, and so he puts out a lot of these laws. But what Sabbatai Zevi is really saying is that in the Messianic age, the laws don't apply because we all have the wisdom in ourselves to follow our own laws. And by breaking the laws, what you're showing is your true faith in the Messiah, your true faith in God, your true faith in yourself. Okay? Because you're no longer constrained by rabbinic authority. Are we clear? Okay? So, this is the idea of Sabbatai Zevi. What happens when he converts is most Jews not follow him. Most Jews go back to the rabbis, who are his enemies. But there are 300 families who choose to convert with him. And these families are called the Domai. And guess what happens? The Domai would actually
check out Orthodox Christianity. It's Christianity, but brown and Arabic, so you'll like it.
Stupid.
Okay? This is Mustafa Ataturk, who was the founder of the Republic of Turkey. And he's a Domai, guys. Okay? So you can argue that today, the Domai control Turkey.
Ataturk's a Jew!
Yep, that's true. Turkey is controlled by the Doma. Everybody know it. This shit, this old news. This is 2005, 2000, bro. But yeah, people are finding out today. But yeah, Kemal Atatürk and Don't even call him that. Just call him Mustafa Kemal. So yeah. This guy, very big trader for the Ottoman Empire. Very big trader.
No.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to be writing this down? Allegedly, in my opinion.
All right. So the Jews believe in reincarnation, and 50 years after Zabi's death.
And that is why Kemal, he abolished Islam from Turkey. He made it a secular state. Many Turkish people and many people around the world don't know that Turkey is not a Muslim state. It's a secular state. You can be arrested for having viewpoints that are against the state or the secularism that they have. So yeah.
Okay, a new person named Jacob Frank will emerge and consider himself the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi. Okay, so he's born into a Sabbatean family. He's born into a family that follows the teachings of Sabbatai Zevi, even though Sabbatai Zevi is considered heresy, even though he's considered an enemy of the rabbis. He's born into this family, and he will start to extend and systematize the teachings of Sabbatai Zevi. And he will become very successful, okay? He will have a lot of followers, but much more importantly, he will become friends with European nobility, the royal families of Austria and Russia. His followers will become prominent members of the European nobility. They'll become very important intellectuals, and they will become very important bankers. And what I will show you is they really got on to conquer the world. And so the question for us is, how did he do that? How did he inspire his followers to go conquer the world? And he did so by presenting a new philosophy, a new religion, okay, that goes against the Jewish religion. It's not Judaism. Okay? He doesn't consider himself a Jew. In fact, he hates Jews. So his new religion, called Sabbatean Frankism, goes against the Jewish faith, okay? And it is a faith based on success. And his argument is this: Jesus came to our world to teach us that the world is a corpse, right? The material world doesn't matter. What matters is the divine spark in you. Because the divine spark will set you free. The divine spark will allow you to return to the monad. That's what matters.
Is it enlightenment?
Okay? We're here just to learn spirituality. We're here to learn wisdom through pain and suffering. Then Jacob Frank, okay, then thinks about this and says, well, you know what? If God is forgiving, if God wants us to come here to learn wisdom, why do we have to suffer? Why can't we become kings ourselves? Why can't we break the rules of this world, cheat, hack the system, and become kings ourselves? Because isn't that a much more better way to enjoy our time here? Okay? And so what he will do is he will teach his philosophy, this religion, to his followers. And he will also train and teach his followers on how to master this world, how to conquer this world. Okay? So we will look at his teachings. All right, so we know what he says because a lot of things he said were written down by his followers in Polish. And we are now going to read a translation by Harris Linowitz from the University of Utah. Okay? These are his words. But what's important to keep in mind is that these are words just for the public. Okay? So we don't actually have access to his secret, mystical, magical teachings, the Kabbalah. Okay? And think of what his teaching is almost like a prince. It's a guide on how to conquer the world. And in fact, the Frankists will go on and conquer the world. Okay? So we're going to study his mentality. Okay? His teachings.
Wait, I missed something. Hold on, I missed something. What was important? Something about the Kabbalah. Okay, his followers are Polish. Wait 1 sec. Sorry.
What he says, because a lot of things he said were written down by his followers in Polish. And we are going to read a translation by Harris Linowitz from the University of Utah. Okay? These are his words.
What's the connection of Machiavelli?
All right, so we know what he says because a lot of things he said were written down by his followers in Polish. And we are going to read a translation of how to conquer this world. Okay? So we will look at his teachings. All right, so we know to conquer the world. And in fact, the Frankists will go on and conquer the world. Okay? So we're going to study his mentality, okay, his teachings. And I'm telling you now that he's a brilliant teacher. And the reason why is that he's going to teach religion, teach ideas through telling stories. He's a storyteller. The power of stories is that they're like seeds that embed in your mind, and they grow over time. They become like oak trees, these massive trees that shape the way you see reality and the way you see yourself. Okay? So stories are the most powerful mechanisms of education in the world. Okay? So Alan, can you read the story, please? Yeah.
One Saturday, I went outside the city and there brought myself some oranges and having a penknife on me. Peeled them. A learned Jewish scholar came, along with his purples. Why are you doing this? By God, don't you know that today is a Sabbath and you have a knife on you? You are right, I answered. You
Holy Ching Chong, bro. That shit is brutal, bro. It's okay.
Speak the truth. But why are you, such a learned man, carrying a knife with you? How can that be? Shit, shouted the Jew. It is my habit to bath on Friday and put on different clothing for the Sabbath. Well, since I said so, reach into your pocket and you will find a knife there for sure. The Jew was stricken by fear when he, having put his hand into the pocket, brought out his own penknife. He cried out in amazement, "You cannot be a man, for if you are a man, then I am an ass." And he began to beg me to come to him, promising all kinds of good things, but I did not want to do it. And in this way, I did similar things wherever I could.
Okay, so certain things that you'll notice about the story is, first of all, he has contempt for Jews, okay? A learned Jewish scholar. And what he shows is that it's very easy to trick these people. Why? Because they're learning. Their laws have made them stupid, okay? They're very strict about following the laws, and so they become very ignorant. And what he also shows you is how to control people. You control people by using their own laws against them, okay? So this man has a very rigid sense of the world. He just said to Jacob Frank, "Hey, you can't use a knife." And then Jacob Frank is like, "Well, then why is your knife in your pocket?" And so it's just a simple magic trick, right? While he isn't looking, Jacob Frank just puts a knife into his pocket. Okay, it's a sleight of hand, very simple trick. But these sleight of hands, because people are stupid and ignorant, you can use them, you can use these tricks to control and manipulate them, okay? So just because he's able to do this, the learned Jewish scholar is now saying, "Oh, you must be the Messiah. You must be divine. Let me follow you." And Jacob is like, "No, you're too stupid to follow me. Goodbye," okay? All right? So it's a simple story. It's very amusing. It's memorable. So if I would tell you this story, when you're 6 years old, even when you turn 80 years old, you'll still remember it. And the story will grow over time. It will shape the way that you see the world. And what you understand is that people are fundamentally stupid and superstitious, and you must take advantage of that. Okay? Take advantage of that. Because why not? All right. Okay, Emma, can you read, please?
Traveling with Zakubowski from Salonika to Poland, there prevailed at that time a pestilence in Podolia. We came to one township where the plague was filling the people, and we lacked food, wine, bread, cheese, etc. Then remembering that from those contaminated with plague, one does not take money, I told him the opposite. You go there, purchase everything, but don't give them money. He did just that. He came to the baker, bargained for bread, put it in a sack, but when he had to pay, the baker fell down and died. He went to the shopkeeper where he bargained for cheese. He put the cheese away and the shopkeeper died. He went on to the store to buy vodka. The same happened with the owner. In a word, just wherever he went, he bought everything without money, because the plague was sweeping the sellers away. Coming back then to me, where I was waiting for him, a rider on horseback knocked him down with his horse. "What are you doing?" shouted Jakubowski. "Are you going to ride right over me?" He didn't even finish saying it when the riders toppled over and fell to the ground. This is how it is. I did all this because it was promised to me that no plague, nothing at all, could get at me. Therefore, all my orders were carried out successfully by the hand of the one whom I signed, and so should you be.
Wait, so stories can be interpreted both literally and metaphorically. Literally is when people are afraid, you take advantage of their fear. Okay? When people are afraid to buy things, you go buy things.
COVID.
If people see the plague, you see it as an opportunity to make money for yourself. Okay? That's literal. But then the spiritual is, remember Jesus saying that how the world is a corpse. And if you see it as a corpse, you can stand above people. Okay? And what you can is saying, if you see the world as a corpse, you can do whatever you want. You can take advantage of people. Okay? As long as you believe that I'm above you. Okay? You're a dead body. I take everything from you. You will always triumph. So this is the idea of justification by sin. How do you know you truly believe in God? By breaking the laws of man, by breaking the conventions of man. Because these conventions of man, this morality, these laws that keep you back, okay? What matters is your relationship with God. You have true faith, you can do whatever you want. You can conquer the world, and God will let you because you have faith in God. Right? Alright, can you read out?
I asked Rabbi Issachar and Rabbi Mondachis that if the second belonged to the divine, why did he die? Rabbi Issachar replied to me, "It stands in our book that he came to this world to experience everything there is, therefore he had to come to experience the bitterness of death as well." "That's fine," I replied. "The answer is good, but if he came to experience everything, why then did he not taste how it would be to be..."
I can't even comprehend. Okay, I gotta skip this. I asked Rabbi Issachar and Rabbi Marduchus, if the second belonged to the divine, why did he die? Rabbi Issachar replied to me, "It stands in our books that he came to this world to experience everything there is. Therefore, he had to come to experience the bitterness of death as well." "That's fine," I replied. "The answer is good, but if he came to experience everything, why then did he not taste how it would be to be Pasha, Vizier, or Sultan? Why did he not experience ruleship? I don't believe it. They could not give me any answer to it." To this, "The place to where I go, all have knocked so that the door be open to them. The patriarchs of Moses, Aaron, David, Solomon, and the pillars of the world, none have been able to open it. But I will labor, and with the strength of my God will open it. No one knew, but only Balaam, who knew a little, but he too not well. That which I mentioned to the company must be understood concerning those pillars of the world, as was mentioned above."
Pasha, Vizier, or Sultan, why did he not experience rulership? I don't believe it. They cannot give me any answer to this.
And so this is a great point he makes, okay? These divine beings like Jesus, they come to experience the world, to learn wisdom. And so why do they suffer? Because suffering is part of wisdom. And then Jacob is like, yeah, but then isn't being a king also an experience? Why didn't he become king? Okay, so what Jacob is telling you is that these laws, this morality, religion in place, it's all a mechanism to control you, to subjugate you, to enslave you. Okay, so his is a religion of liberation from oppression. Okay, keep on reading, Alan.
That place to where I go all have knocked so that the door be open to them. The patriarchs, the Moses, Aaron, David, Solomon, and all the pillars of the world, none have been able to open it. But I will labor, and with the strength of my God will open it. No one knew, but only Balaam, who knew a little, but he too not well. That which I mentioned to the company must be understood concerning those pillars of the world, as was mentioned above.
Yeah, so he's saying in the Jewish religion you worship Moses and David and Solomon, but you know what? At the same time, they were all slaves because they could not see the truth of this world. They could not see the true structure of this world. They couldn't really conquer, but I can, and I will show you the way as long as you follow me. Okay? The company is his followers, and the people follow him are called the brothers and the sisters. So it's a very egalitarian, flat hierarchy where there's no, it's not a triangle like most secret societies. It's just they all obey Jacob Frank, and Jacob Frank will lead them to the promised land. Okay. All right. Can you read Amber?
Should I with this? Maybe not. In a dream, I saw Jesus, having priests around him, sitting at a spring of living and clear water. I noticed that the spring went away from them and came to me.
Okay, so it's very simple, right? You think Jesus is the Messiah. Wrong. I'm the true Messiah, okay? Because the water flows to me. Life flows to me. Am I going?
I tell you, as Christ, as you know, said that he came to free the world from the hands of Satan. But I came to free it from all laws and status, which have been till now for all that was the work of the hands of Satan.
Shit. Do not make fun of my accent, you
motherfucker, you! And by that, all fell into his hands. I must destroy all that and only make that which is black look utterly white. At that time, the good God will reveal himself.
Okay, so why is it important to sin, to break the laws? Because the truth of the matter is, this world that we live in is controlled by the false God, by Satan. And therefore, we have responsibility to sin, to show the world that his laws can be defied, to defy Satan himself, to show the world that these laws are idiotic. They don't make any sense. They're stupid. Okay? And by doing that, we accelerate the end of this world. That is Messianic age. When this world ends, we will have a new world when we'll see the truth for ourselves. When we will awaken to the falseness of this world. And then we have defeated evil. Then we will have defeated sin, okay? This is the idea of accelerationism, right? By sinning, you accelerate the end of the world. By sinning, you reveal the truth of the world. By sinning, you empower yourself, okay? Okay, any questions so far? And you can see how seductive this is, right? Okay, okay, so this one's a bit long. So I'll simplify it, okay? Again, it is a parable. So there's a merchant, he has the world's most valuable pearl. And he wants to puncture a hole through it because he wants to create a necklace. And he goes to all these specialists, artisans, and they all say, no, this pearl is too valuable. I might break it, or I might damage it, you won't be happy, okay? So they all refuse. The merchant really wants a hole, so he offers more money. And everyone's like, no, I can't do it. Then this apprentice, okay, and Jacob Frank's like, I'm an apprentice, I don't know anything. He's like, sure, I'll do it. And he does it. And the merchant is like, oh, wow, thank you. And the apprentice becomes very wealthy. So in this world, what matters is not obey conventions. What matters is not listening to other people, conforming to other people. What matters is your fearlessness. Okay? Just go do it, man. Seize it. And you become wealthy. That's what this world is about. Okay? We are constrained by these taboos, by all this morality, by all this nonsense. Okay? You must break through it and just seize it for yourself, and you'll become powerful. All right.
Frank. Who else is
this is another story, which is too long. The story goes like this. The king has 4 sons, and he dies. They're all born at the same age. So he doesn't know, they don't know who inherits the throne, okay? So a great mystic comes and says, okay, here's a king, this is his body, shoot an arrow at his heart, and whoever hits the heart will become king. All 3 sons try, and they miss. And the 4th son says, I can't do it, because he is the king, he's my father. He may be dead, but he's still my father. And then the wizard, the mystic says, he is your king, because he understands what matters is family, okay? So what Jacob Frank is saying is this. Everyone else, we treat like animals. They are animals because they're stupid. They're governed by these idiotic laws. But we, the company, the brothers and sisters, the family, we have to love each other. We have to respect each other, even in death. Okay? And our love for each other is what will allow us to conquer the world. Right. All right, Alan, can you read, please? Yeah.
There was once a bear. During its absence, its children were taken from the lair. Out of the great pain of not finding the children, when he came back, the bear fell upon the village and wounded animals and people. The elders of the village sent to it the following order. If you will not leave us, then we'll bring 2 districts together and destroy you. The bear laughed and sneered at it. They sent the same message again with a memorandum that will gather 4 or more districts.
Okay,
the bear
I literally can't understand. There was once a bear. During its absence, its children were taken from the lair. Out of the great pain of not finding children, the bear fell upon the village and wounded animals and people. The elders of the village sent to it the following order. If you will not leave us, then we'll bring 2 districts together and destroy you. The bear laughed and sneered at it. They sent the same message again with the memorandum that we'll gather 4 more districts. The bear made fun of it again. Finally, we sent to the bear with these words, saying, in our village there are 4 brothers. We shall send them against you. When the bear heard this, it collected itself and went off on its way, after having withdrawn from the village right away. So it is with you, I such you.
After having withdrawn from the village right away, so it is with you.
Okay, you understand this. So his fathers can say to Jacob Frank, Master, there's only 1,000 of us, but there's a million of them. And Jacob Frank is like, look, 4 brothers are more powerful than 10,000 men. That's the power of love, right? Jesus taught us the power of love. Donnie taught us the power of love. If we can use it, we can conquer the world. And we need to harness the power of the divine spark to come together to conquer the world. It is love that will conquer the world. All right, Amber, can you read, please?
Holy fuck.
Okay, you know what? This is too long, okay? So I'll just tell through the story. The story's very simple. There's an elephant, he's running loose, and he's killing people. So the king says, whoever can kill the elephant, can marry my daughter. So a prince decides to do this. He disguises himself as a normal person, and he says to the king, I will go kill the elephant, but only on the condition that you first let me see your daughter. And the king says, sure, why not? Because you're gonna die anyway. And when the prince sees the princess recognizes him right away and says, you must be a prince. Please don't go out there and get yourself killed. Marry me. And the king hears this and says, if you're truly a prince, you don't have to go kill the elephant. The prince says, no, I already promised you what I will do. Out of my love for your daughter, I will go and kill the elephant. And he does. That's the power of love, okay? That's what Frank is telling you. That's the power of love. Do things not for money, do things not for power, but because of your love for each other, okay? That's a secret to conquering the world.
Love each other instead of God.
All right, can you read, Amber?
Once, while the Sultan was visiting a slave gallery with his vizier, he asked each slave about his crime. All said they were innocent of the judgment. Only one, having revealed his crime, did not hide anything from the Sultan. Why should this criminal stay here with all these honest people, shouted the Sultan. Away with him off this galley. And so the criminal was released. The vizier asked the Sultan about it. Why do you set him free when he himself admits to his crimes? The king then asked the robber, what do you intend to do now? The robber fell at the Sultan's feet and said, O Lord, if you will take me into your service, then surely I will lack nothing, neither clothing nor robes, and you will see how devotedly I serve you. You will surely be content with me.
Okay, so again, he's teaching his followers how to conquer the world. And one thing that you need to understand is, yes, humans are animals, but there's still good animals and bad animals. And you need to differentiate, okay? Animals want to be loyal. So you treat a good animal well, that animal will be loyal to you forever. Okay.
Good boy.
All right, can you read, Alan?
It is a custom during the Jewish wedding that a distinguished person sit by the groom. I wanted to beat everyone up so that this place would be given to me. But they all spoke up. It is not proper to try to attain that by fighting, but by disputation. If you win over them in a dispute, then it will be proper for you to sit next to the groom. I ask them a few questions, and they give me the answers. This is not a great deal that you give me the answers because the school teachers taught you that. But answer me a single question, and that will be the end. And I ask, it stands with you that the father should circumcise his child. And in another place, it stands that the mother should circumcised. To that, they cannot answer. So I sat down beside the groom.
Okay, so the problem with people is that they're stupid, okay? And there are lots of these laws in the Bible. And you just look at the Bible, you just read the Bible, there's contradictions. And the Jews believe, oh no, the Bible is the word of God. But if it's the word of God, why there's no contradiction in the Bible? Okay? And all you have to do is reveal the contradictions to the Jews, and they'll just shut up and obey you, right? So what he's telling his followers is, if you want to win the world, you cannot win the world through violence and power because there's too many enemies. If you want to win the world, you do so through argument,
everyone
through
in
learning,
here looking for funny
stupidity
stream, says the indoctrinated LARP.
Then leave, you stupid faggot.
People. And this is very effective, okay? So he's telling his followers, go become lawyers, man. Go become scholars. And at some point in the 19th century in Warsaw, all the top lawyers in Warsaw are Frankists, okay? Because Franks will teach you how to think for yourself, how to think critically.
I'm trying to hear what Candace is talking about now.
All right.
Somebody's communicated.
Can you read that?
Elohim said that
Elohim is a god, okay? Keep on going.
Noah's Adam, let us make a man. They wanted to make man higher than he is now, but it was from God himself that Adam should sing. And so in all ages, they fall until it reached the lowest lowness. And from among the lowest of the low, as we are, our placement down to the very bottom. It will be so that our rise may go on forever upwards, and assuredly, out of deep darkness, the light will appear us. As was said above, that is exactly what you have yet from Signal Central. We shall thank Adam.
Wait, so
we shall thank Adam. What? Huh? Bro, let us make a man. They wanted to make man higher than he is now, but it was from God himself that Adam should sin. And so in all ages, is this a real Bible quote? They all until it reaches the lowest lowness. And from among the lowest of low as we are, our abasement down to the very bottom will be so that our rise may go on forever upwards. And assuredly out of deep darkness the light will appear, as was said above. That exactly what you have yet from Signor Santo, we shall thank Adam.
The Elohim are gods, okay? So what he's saying is that there's a hierarchy of gods. And the true God had an argument with the Elohim, okay? The Elohim is basically saying, let's make man as servants to us. So the man should be imbued with both spirit and a bit of flesh. And God says, no, I want man to be all flesh, to be all pleasure, okay? Why? Because that will allow man to sin. And the more they sin, what they will do is learn wisdom and knowledge. That's a secret to mortals. Because we can sin, we can learn knowledge in a way that the gods cannot. And so the more we sin, the more knowledge we have. That's why it's important to sin. If you do not sin...
So Frank is say, sinning gives knowledge. Sinning is what separates us from God.
That's what matters. Okay, not the money. All right. So can you read, Alan?
Drop the
imagination. Does that make love? Where Jacob Frank is instructing each other on how to behave in a sexual manner. Okay. And this is a way to cement a covenant with each other.
neighbor who was also wealthy, but they had never had close relations. He asked him what his advice might be. He replied to him, "Dear neighbor, let's go and dig a hole at the edge of your estate and bury the chest there and put some boards and other stuff on top of it." But those who had eaten with him themselves went and spied out the place where they buried the chest, and they themselves went to the squire of that.
Chat, does Aiden become friends with me once the brand risk stuff cools down? You know, so like I'm a brand risk after the global cost, and then it kind of dies down. Everyone sees the Epstein files and realizes that, oh shit, maybe he has a point, and then he becomes friends with me again. What do you think? Am I being weird?
Town, reporting to him that terrible deed. That lord, together with his whole household, took himself off and went to the house of that Jew. Having arrived there, he ordered the householder immediately thrown in irons and ordered the place dug up to find the child. But to the great surprise of everyone, when the chest was opened, the roast goose was seen in the shirt. The Lord asked what that might be. Thereafter, that Jew replied that it was to test those who really loved him that he did it, and that I wanted to see if they were really as kindly disposed to me as they had said, but I have concluded the reverse.
So if you're very wealthy, you're nice to people, they'll think you're stupid and naive, and they'll plot against you. Okay? That's the reality that you live in. If you want to become rich, you have to break the laws of man. If you want to stay rich, you have to be mean to people. You have to recognize that people are inherently evil. Okay? They're animals. Okay, Alex, can you read, please?
It is written that silver answers everything. It is not even possible to draw near God without money.
Okay, so how do you know you're successful? How do you know you're happy?
Why do you even
money,
read
right?
that? He could have just read
this story down below, he tells a story of how he has these followers and he's well respected. So now these noblemen are trying to bribe him and says, hey, why don't we join forces? I'll give you $1 million. And he says, no. I'll give you $1 billion. No. I'll give you $1 million. No, okay? Because what matters is belief in our mission. Okay? Our mission is to create a new world. Our mission is especially in the Mediterranean age. That's what matters. Okay, not the money. All right. So, can you read, Alex?
Drop the
maidens.
Two maidens from Poland, daughters, were leaving and wanted to lie down on the bed. I wanted to have intercourse with them. At that one nun came, undressed and also lay on the bed. I lay on the bed. The nun says to me, "Lord Frantic, what are you doing?" "Indeed, I am married." I replied, "What of it?" "Exposition. That thing with the nuns was prepared for you, and you do that with them in squares, towns, and streets, and that would have been an eternal praise for you. Also, that the priest would become your servant, but you did not want it."
Okay, so this is a really important idea. The idea is that the reality is constructed through hallucination, okay? Through our own imagination. And so everyone is living in someone else's imagination. These laws were created by someone else. But what this means is that what you can do is create your own reality, and then when you create your own reality, then people will obey your laws, okay? So think this way. This is a nun, and she's sworn to uphold the church rules, right? But all Frank did was undress, lie in bed, and just lay there and imagine her coming.
Wait,
and she does. She comes, she undresses, and she's lying beside him. And now she's like, I'm afraid that if I do this, if I have sex with this man, I will be punished by God. And then he's like, don't worry about it, okay? So the world is what you make of it. The world is what you imagine of it. You train your mind.
I've got tech teams in Israel.
To see the world in a certain way, then everyone else will see the world your way, okay? That's what controls the world, the imagination. Does that make sense, guys? Okay? You can see why he's so powerful, right? Yeah, yes?
But like if I create my own world inside my head, but I did not tell others or I did not influence others by my actions, how could I like others to follow my world?
Okay, so this is something that a normal person can't do, okay? This is someone who has an imagination can do, right? So think of a writer. The writer is imagining the world and writing it down, okay? And when you read the book, what happens? You come into this world. Think of a television show, right? Television show is just a reality that someone made up. When you watch a television show, you think it's real. You come into this world, okay? And this is what you can do as well. You train your mind in a certain way. You have to train your mind in a certain way. Okay, and how do you train your mind? Through constant education, through reading, through dialogue, through debate. Right. And that's why the French are so powerful. Okay, because they're not like a bunch of robbers. They're people who are deeply engaged in learning and exercising their imagination. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so this is really important. So what's going to happen is that most of Frank's followers are Jews. And what they're going to do is they're going to convert together to the Catholic religion. Because when they do so, they will be given more opportunities to grow in power. Okay, they'll be patronized by Catholic royalty. Okay, so they decide to convert together. But before they do, they have a ceremony to mark their conversion. Okay, can you read, Amber? On the night?
On the night of that day, the following deed took place. The Lord set up a guard in the courtyard made up of our people, so that no one might dare even to look through the window. And he himself went in with the brothers and sisters, undressed nude, and also Her Highness OBM, and ordered all...
Right, Tate does have the Jacob Frank mentality. He's like, I'm going to bend the world to my will, exert my will. It's the masculine imperative. Exactly, yeah.
All those gathered to do so. And after having taken a little bench, he drove a nail into the center and set 2 burning candles on the bench and hung his cross from the nail. And so after having knelt before it himself, he took the cross and bowed to the 4 sides and kissed it. Then Her Highness and then everyone he ordered to do so. After that, the sexual relations took place thereafter according to his determination. At that, one of the women laughed. Then at the moment the Lord ordered the candles put out, saying, if they would let the candles burn, they would see what would happen. And at the time, he said, with this deed we go to the naked things. Therefore, it is necessary to go naked.
Okay, this deed is conversion, okay? So what they're doing is this. They're converting to a new religion, and they're supposed to swear loyalty to a new faith, a new God. But what they're doing in the ceremony is swearing loyalty to each other, okay, through a ritual. And this ritual, it's not sex, it's a ritual of love, where Jacob Frank is instructing each other on how to behave in a sexual manner, okay? And this is a way to cement a covenant with each other. And what this does is it empowers everyone to go far and wide. But no matter how far and wide you go, remember that we still love each other. And because of our love for each other, we'll fight each other, okay? So he tells a lot of stories of how these princes goes around the world in disguise. Because you have no choice. Because this world is run by idiots. This world is governed by idiotic laws. And therefore you must disguise yourself. You must hide yourself. But remember that we will always find each other because we know each other for who we are. Okay, because we're bounded by this covenant with each other. So the thing about the Frank is that's very annoying, or which makes people hate them, is they're always engaging in this sort of sexual rituals. They have incest with their children. They have incest with their daughters. They do a lot of wife swapping. Okay, and you may think people hate them is they're always engaging in this sort of sexual rituals. They have incest.
What's that? Fucking weirdos.
Niggas can't make mistakes, bro.
That was it for Sneako stream. Sneako. Yeah, it was a good stream. Knowledgeable, interesting. So yeah, see you guys next time.